Gav, what's on this week's episode of How to English TEFL Pod?
We discuss the issues of using the share button during our online sessions.
We ask, why are we even doing this podcast?
And reflect on the risk of cutting students off.
We wonder if our students should have a goal in mind.
You share the cardinal rule of teaching.
And finally, our quiz of the week is a rather brisk look at collocations.
Followers, whoever you are and whyever you're here, share our podcast with someone who would enjoy our show.
Thanks. Now let's begin.
Welcome everybody, this is How to English, Teach and Learn with Gav and Em.
It's a podcast about teaching and learning English as a foreign language.
All opinions stated are personal and references will be given when necessary.
What I will say, Gav, it's, as an overall programme, it's fab. I haven't got any complaints. My only very small thing. Why do they put the leave button next to the share button?
I'm not sure I've seen this TV programme. Exactly what is it we're talking about?
Talking about that famous online programme for using on video calls.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. The programme that you use in order to chat online with your students.
The leave button is very clickable. The share button is just 3 millimetres to the left.
Is it? I thought it was down the bottom.
What are you talking about?
Which one are we talking about?
The big one. The famous one.
The big T?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
It's right next to the leave button, and I find that very confusing, and I hover and I think which one, and sometimes I just leave.
It sounds very similar to something that happened today with my student, and he said, "Oh, you would not believe," and he was gone.
What happened?
Apparently there's a button on the back of one's headphones, which also makes you hang up when you're not planning to.
Right, yeah. I don't even notice when people just leave. Sometimes when you're sharing the screen, for example, you can't see who's leaving or who's coming back in, and they might not be there anymore.
I feel like we've started the episode right in the middle and we haven't even gone ahead and explained to our lovely followers. Welcome everyone. We are Gav and Em, two TEFL teachers who are presenting a podcast to you in order to... why are we doing this?
Because we can. Because we want to. We want to share the knowledge and our experience, maybe get some feedback, and just chit-chat about our week at work.
It gives us a chance to reflect on what's happened over this last week, and maybe the followers might find something similar happen to them and they can think, Gav and Em also have to deal with this crap.
For example, on the subject of online calls, Gav, do you ever get to the end of your class, you've got all of these lovely people smiling at you, saying goodbye, and you say, "Okay, everyone, thanks very much, see you all next week," and then somebody starts talking and you've already pressed the leave button?
That happens all the time for me.
Have a nice... And I feel terrible.
I'm not entirely sure that they know you've gone. They might just carry on talking anyway. It might be okay.
I hope you're right. I think I'm going to leave a post-it note on my screen next time saying just do not leave until everyone has left.
Would you do that then?
Would I do what?
Would you wait until everybody's left until you hang up?
Well, I don't. That's my point. I sometimes cut them off in the
But
middle
would
of
you
a
do that?
sentence. Well, I think I'm going to try to, yeah.
Really? You might be there for another 5 minutes as the students say bye, and you say bye, and they say bye, see you next week, yeah, bye.
What, you wouldn't then? You would just say bye and that's it, you're out the door?
I'd watch the seconds ticking by as they hit that hour mark. I am out of there.
And if one of them says, "Oh, Gav, there's one thing..."
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like as I hang up. They've got my email address.
All right.
Maybe I'm jumping to the next lesson. I often say, "I'm sorry, class, I've got to go. You've got to get on with your work. I've got to teach another group. See you later."
Yeah, Gav.
I've already got him.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish the word.
Sometimes I do feel like I need because I do a lot of warm-ups. I like warm-ups. I don't
What's
do the...
warm up?
What?
Warm up?
Warm-up
Doesn't
task.
warm up.
I do a lot of warm-up tasks.
Let's start again. Right. Welcome, everybody.
I do a lot of warm-up tasks where we chat, we talk about the weekend or we talk about the morning, and then we slowly get into the lesson like a flower unfolding in the sun. And then towards the end, I'm like, okay, now everyone, that's it, bye. And I don't do much cool down. There's no kind of transition between the end and then bye. It's just, right, done, see ya.
But I reckon that before you've finished that class, you've said to all the students, what are you doing after this lesson? Or
Not
what
always.
Does
No, I'm talking about the times where I'm literally to the wire on an activity and I'm like, right, great, thanks everyone, see ya. And I think, we haven't reflected, we haven't chatted about the weekend or after the lesson. There's none of that. It's just bye.
You might want to think twice about your time management, Teacher Em.
I know, Gav. I'm a bit of a slow start and a fast finisher.
Okay, well, you need to get a little more balance between those starting and finishing parts of your lesson. Maybe just give yourself X amount of time to do X number of activities. So you've got your warm up and your cool down at the beginning and the end, and everybody will be happy and not stressed and shouting, oh, I forgot to...
Yeah, it should be like a well-rounded workout, shouldn't it? Like when you go to the gym or the aerobics class.
I've heard, but I couldn't tell you from experience, no. I've got a question for you, Em.
What's that, Gav?
Who is our podcast for?
Everybody.
Did you like that dangly word at the end?
Dangly word. Is that a technical thing?
It's a hanging preposition.
What's the book about? Where do you come from? Who's this for? What, you think we should say, for who is this book? About what is it? From where do you come?
That sounds better. That's the kind of English I want to speak.
What are you talking about? About what are you talking, Gav? You can't tell me that it's not a normal thing to say, who is this podcast for? Gav, this podcast is for everybody. But I suppose primarily it's for students and teachers of English as a foreign language. Do you agree?
I think that sounds about right. So why would somebody come to this podcast? What are they expecting from us, Em?
Maybe they're curious about the secret lives of an EFL teacher. They'd like to know what it's like before they choose this profession, perhaps, if they're potential teachers.
Budding teachers.
Budding teachers. They could be students who are curious about what their teachers are like in their free time.
Let me go back. What would this budding teacher get from our show?
Insights, tips, advice
On
teaching
English
as a foreign language. All opinions stated are personal, and yes, exactly that.
That's nice.
Or maybe students who are curious about what teachers get up to, what really is going on behind the eyes of a teacher, what we're thinking, how we're feeling.
All the magic that's happening behind the curtain.
That's right. You might just want to listen to two people having a chat in English as some practice.
That's what I often say to my students. Listen to people having conversations. Follow the topic. You might be able to answer some questions at the end. I like that sort of activity.
Why do you think they're coming here, Gav?
I wonder if they just pressed the wrong button. They followed the wrong link. Maybe they thought this was how to inflate a rubber ring.
Maybe. There must be a podcast about that. There's a podcast about everything. I'd like to think they're not here by accident. But yeah, maybe.
Let's hope.
Followers, you know why you're here. Maybe you want to tell us.
I would love to know why they're here. Do you think they should get in touch?
I think they should definitely get in touch and tell us what brings them to us, why they're listening, and what we can give them.
Could we give them more? Or perhaps less?
We could start talking about rubber rings if you want. What do you do, Gav, to inflate your rubber ring?
I guess I take the nozzle off. Or is it a cap?
I think you use a nozzle. You put it into the valve.
And then with my foot pump, I'd probably inflate that rubber ring fully.
And then you'd use the cap or the lid to stick it on the valve to make sure the air doesn't escape.
Yeah, make sure when you take the pump off, you have to unscrew it very fast or you might let some air out.
Make sure you haven't got any punctures in your rubber ring because your air won't stay in there.
That is very true. It will escape. It might leak. You might be, I don't know, in the pool.
In the pool.
You might be in the pool and you start deflating, sinking. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. If the followers do have any suggestions for us, Em, I would like to hear. And also, I'm really curious to know who you are, because there's lots of you and you're all lovely. And yeah, let us know if you want to get in touch. Let us know if there's something we can do more of, less of, or just do it differently. Just let us know. And before we go any further, can I just check, last episode you mentioned rhubarb. I was quite curious to know what you were actually talking about. I was too polite to interrupt you, so could you please explain what is rhubarb?
I think we were talking about words for chatter,
Babble.
and jibber jabber. I think it was an app.
Or it wasn't an app.
Go back, followers. Listen to the quiz. It was funny. Yeah. Rhubarb was a method of creating background chat in a theatre. So the extras, all the people in the background who don't have lines, would just stand around saying rhubarb. And that sounds like indistinct chatter.
Oh.
Which is nice, isn't it?
That's a nice picture. I'm now thinking about all these people at the back of the stage, or maybe on the movie set. All the extras in the back sitting at the cafe, sipping their cappuccinos and saying, rhubarb.
They look like they're having a really in-depth conversation, but all they're doing is saying root vegetable. Is it a vegetable? Fruit? I don't know.
Rhubarb
What
is a root
rhubarb?
vegetable.
Is it a vegetable?
Of course it is. Rhubarb is a fleshy, edible stalk of the species and hybrid of the rhubarb in the family Polygonaceae.
That sounds like a vegetable. So yeah, all these extras standing around just saying root vegetable, stalky type thing. Rhubarb.
Thanks for clearing that up. You also mentioned gravy train.
Did I?
Or was it bandwagon? Or perhaps it was coattails? Could you please explain these three expressions?
I think I was talking about your made-up app called Wordy that I said might have been on the bandwagon of Wordle, which is a famous game that everybody knows and loves and plays. So I think it means to gain success based on the success of something else. But I think riding on the coattails might be better. So I would say that Wordy, the new app, is riding on the coattails of Wordle because it's using Wordle's fame and reputation to create its own success.
That is a nice sentence. And gravy train is a really nice expression referring to a situation in which someone can make a lot of money for very little effort.
Maybe that's a little bit more negative to say on, what is the expression? To be on the gravy train? It is a gravy train?
Get on the gravy train.
Get on the gravy train. Yeah.
Or to be on the gravy train.
Yeah.
Thanks for those clarifications, Em. I was wondering and I had to wait a whole 2 weeks for those answers.
I hope it was worth the wait, Gav.
It was.
I have a question for you now.
Is it for me and the followers, Em?
Yes, it is. Teachers out there, when you are teaching, do you have a target, a long-term target in your mind, Gav? Do you have an idea where you're going?
Lunch, usually.
Long-term. I'm talking long-term, like the end of the year, maybe 2 years' time. Do you have goals for your students? Do you think about where you're taking them, what you're working towards?
Em, can I be frank?
You can be anyone. What's your answer?
I don't have very specific goals with my students, except obviously to get them from one level to the next level. But I don't see it in time periods exactly like terms or years or decades, whatever those things were you mentioned.
I'm the same. But it occurred to me when I was on holiday during the summer, and I just happened to be walking around the streets of this beautiful Montenegrin town, and I stumbled upon an orchestra rehearsing in the middle of the square, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I thought it was an actual concert, but then I realised it wasn't. It was a rehearsal. And these people were all really focused on getting it right. They were practising this piece of music. The person who's telling them what to do, what's that person, Gav?
The conductor?
Yeah, was really focusing them on their errors and stopping them and getting them to do it again so that it was perfect.
Are you going to take us back to teaching and learning English?
Well, I thought this was quite a nice metaphor, Gav, for our lessons. I feel like they are a bit like a rehearsal, and perhaps we should be aiming at a concert. It was clear that these people were practising for a big concert and that they really wanted to get it right so that on the day of the concert it was perfect. And I thought as teachers, we could see our teaching journey a bit like this. Every lesson is a rehearsal for something that will be real and important in the future. And that could be just going to a coffee shop as a group, ordering a coffee, or it could be giving a presentation, or it could be going on holiday and being able to do everything you want to do and understand a tour guide. But I wonder if it is important to have a goal, to have a target, to have a concert in the future to get ready for, so that everybody's working towards something.
That is a very interesting question, and I wonder what the followers are thinking themselves.
Yeah, it's made me really think about my classes. It could even be an exam. If they're all focused on one thing, maybe then they'll be a bit more motivated to study harder.
Are you saying all this because your students are not particularly motivated?
I just think we've got to a point where it's easier. They've got confidence. They know they can come and they can talk and that they'll enjoy the lessons.
Is that not enough?
It is enough, but I sometimes think they want a bit more. Maybe they want to be pushed and challenged and given that little spark of something.
I think my students feel like they've been pushed enough by me.
You're saying you don't really need goals in your classes?
Now I'm thinking about it, Em, I'll have to sit down, go through my classes and think which of these students need me to push them a little bit more, which ones are quite content with their English, which students, which classes are already under super amounts of pressure by just having to attend one of my lessons.
I think a lot of students are very goal motivated, and when I mentioned exams to some of them, they did seem really interested. And I think they like that idea, that they would actually physically go and do an exam or a test, and then they would move up a level or not. And that would give them a really precise idea of their level.
That is very important to the students because they often ask me what level they are.
Yeah, exactly. And unless they do a test of some kind, you can do a level test internally, maybe in the company, but there are these Cambridge exams and there are these accredited tests that you can do that really show that, and I think a lot of people want that.
You might be right. I'll have to ask my students. Are you prepared, Em, for the extra work that might come from teaching exam skills to your students?
Well, that's it. You have to be prepared to do it if they say they want it, but it does mean a lot more work, you're right. But it is great. I come back to the orchestra. They were really enjoying it. You know, you could really see they were all engaged, all on the same page, literally, all playing the same piece of music, all working towards the same end. The atmosphere was fab.
Can I ask a slightly complex question around this topic?
Sure.
What if your students are not like an orchestra? They're not there in order to give a final show, but instead they're there to have fun and not be tested at the end?
That's fine too. That's absolutely fine.
Because I think when we look at the orchestra, we don't see all the people who left because they don't want the stress of having to sit an exam or sit in front of 200 people while they perform music.
I completely agree, but I think we need to give them that option and at least have a conversation, because a lot of my students are quite high level and they've got to that point by putting themselves under stress and under pressure. And often the way you get to the next level is by giving yourself a reason to get to the next level. There's not a lot of reason just to progress naturally. It's not as organic as it sometimes could be. And comfort zones, we've discussed comfort zones before, and they are very comfortable, aren't they? You get stuck in them. And unless you push yourself, you're not going to get out of that comfort zone. And the reason to push yourself is for a concert.
That is certainly one way to test yourself. But I still do worry about the students who do not want to be put under that much pressure and will simply attend the lessons because they want to have some fun, a distraction. They want to keep their level of English the same as it already is and not lose any of that ability.
Maintaining is absolutely fine, and it's a democracy, and if that's what everybody wants, then absolutely fine. I just think it's nice to have the conversation sometimes, giving them the options.
I'm really curious to listen to this dropout orchestra, the ones that said, no, we're not going to do the final show. I think they might be quite interesting.
Isn't that called jazz? Sorry, no, that's controversial.
I've got a question for you, Em.
It's like a game of table tennis. Ping pong, back to me. Yes.
And my question is, when's a good time to raise your fees?
Raise my fees. I thought you were going to say feet. It's like at the end of a long day with a cup of tea. Raise my fees annually to correspond with inflation.
Is that the beginning of the year?
Well, depends where you live. It's April for me.
Have you got in mind a percentage? Is that like 2.5%, 10%, 15, 25%?
Well, I think inflation is around 2.5, isn't it? So
Depends where you live, exactly.
depends where you live, exactly. So yeah, just within reason. What about you?
I kind of realise after a few years that I haven't put my prices up for ages and then think, oh, I need to do that. And then I say to the students, is it right if I hike it quite far up and then we don't need to talk about it again for a couple of years?
Yeah, well, that's when I say to you that would be the ideal to do it yearly. I'm the same as you. I haven't increased my prices for years either. So then it does seem a bit unfair to go up 20%.
It seems like a shock, doesn't it? I guess you're right. If you do it in small increments yearly, then the students won't be quite so surprised by how much it's increasing over a longer period.
But you could always just say to them, it's been 4 years since the last increase, so because of that, it's going to be a bit more than maybe you thought it would be.
Do you think it's a negotiation or do you just state your price?
It's a case-by-case situation. I think, yeah, it shouldn't be a negotiation, but it can be a negotiation.
So you might need to go in higher,
Yeah, maybe.
expecting to be knocked down.
I don't tend to talk much about money, Gav, so
It's not going well, is it?
for me, it is basically, this is what I've decided, and I hope that's okay with you.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it. I've got my set price generally, and I just stick to it.
Well, that is a very good philosophy. And if those students are not prepared to pay those extra pennies, I think they don't deserve you, Em.
Well, I don't think I take liberties. I think it's all fair and square, really.
I think this was a good conversation because it is very difficult to talk about money. It's not a topic that we feel comfortable with.
We being me and you. I mean, some people might feel okay, but yeah, I hate talking about money. I hate asking for payments from my students. It's like, oh, it's the end of the month and, what happens at the end of the month? It's like, I don't want to say the word money.
Oh, you have to ask for it?
Sometimes, yeah.
Ah.
Don't you? Do your students remember to pay you every single time?
It's different for different students. Some of them I send invoices to. Others have a regular set fee, which they pay automatically.
And so you don't have to remind them.
Well, if the invoice is a reminder, then yeah.
Okay, well that sounds good. Sometimes I do have to ask more than once, where I'm just saying again, oh yeah, this is the second lesson that you haven't paid for, and, can I have my money, please?
Oh, yeah, that's a very uncomfortable conversation. Em, if I can give you a little tip, I would say get them to pay you in advance for, say, 4 or 5 lessons, and then you're already quids in before you've started.
Good advice, Gav. Very good advice. I love this ideal world that you're living in. It's great because I've got students that have been going for years and it's a bit like, yeah, I know you're good for it. Sure. It's been a month and yeah, I need that now. But yeah, they do pay, so it's all good. Gav, over the years I've been given some fabulous advice by different teachers all over the world, and I've kind of put them into what I call cardinal rules.
Cardinal rules?
Yeah. Like, be on time, make sure you know the materials, check the recordings before you do them, that sort of thing. But I have noticed there are 2 cardinal rules that seem to contradict each other.
Oh.
These have come from very reliable sources, so I do trust the people that have told me. So one of my first jobs, somebody I really respected said to me, cardinal rule of teaching, don't do any activity for more than 25 minutes. Doesn't matter what it is, 25 minutes is generally the cut-off point.
25 Earth minutes.
Yeah, because by that time, people are kind of getting bored and they just want to switch it up.
I think the followers are either thinking 25 minutes, that is a very, very long time. But then there's also people who are thinking 25 minutes, is that all?
Yeah, so it's a good time. I think if you've got a 60-minute lesson, that's a 5-minute warm-up, 2 activities. My maths isn't great, but maybe a 5-minute cool down. Yeah, it fits great.
But 25 minutes is one activity. And say, for example, you might be doing a game like we did last episode. Do you remember how I described the adjectives to you and you had to guess them? You would do that for 25 minutes.
Yeah, with a group of 4, that would be perfect.
Okay.
And then maybe you do a listening, something very different, yeah, to keep switching it up. That made perfect sense to me in my early days of teaching.
Cardinal rule number 1.
And then in a different place, another teacher said to me, their cardinal rule number 1, is if it's working, don't change it.
I've heard that one.
So whatever it is, whatever activity, if the students are enjoying it, they're producing language, you're having a nice time, go with it. Doesn't matter how long it takes, just keep going with it.
But you can't keep going forever because that'd be exhausting. You'd need a cup of tea. You might want a little sandwich.
I'm talking about the lesson. If it's a 60-minute lesson, a 90-minute lesson, a 2-hour lesson, you just keep going because it's great and everyone's having a nice time. So those 2 rules seem to contradict each other, and I find myself sometimes cutting off what I would say is a great activity because I'm thinking about rule number 1, first rule number 1, which is 25-minute rule. And then other times I'm thinking, well, I should just keep going with this because rule number 1 of the other teacher was just, if it works, do it. And then I'm in the middle, flip-flopping around. What do you do?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that, Em.
No. I have sometimes reflected on it and thought, oh, that could have kept going and they would have liked that, I'm sure. But I think it is a long time to do an activity for more than, let's say, 40 minutes. Does seem to be a bit like my natural state is to say, right now we're going to do something different, because I like my students, when they do think back to the lesson, to think, well, we did some this, we did some of that, we did some reading, we did some writing, we did some listening. And unless the activity is doing all those things, which is not that often, then I probably would switch up at least every half an hour.
I'm erring towards your 25-minute limit.
Yeah.
But I also agree with the other teacher with the principle that if it's working, just let them keep going and going and going, because that is fabulous. That's why I'm there, for them to be interacting and having lots of fun.
Yeah, okay. Maybe as a bit of an exception, we may do that occasionally if it really is going so well. But I just think the next activity will be just as good and they'll be enjoying it just as much. So we could do 4 fantastic activities or 1 fantastic activity. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
I do wonder if I could save the second fun activity for the next lesson.
You might find you're dragging out that first activity because it's got an hour and 10 minutes worth of it.
Got legs on it, Em.
It's got an hour and 10 minutes legs on it, but not an hour and 30 minutes legs on it. And then you've got 20 minutes of...
20 minutes of let's reflect on the language that we just used. I will break down some of the useful vocabulary, some of the grammar. We'll do some mini corrections.
Yeah, that's nice. If you can do all that spontaneously, I find that quite stressful.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Good, good, good.
And then at least you walk away from the lesson and think, we did a really good, fun activity. Everybody was involved. And we analysed some of the language that we used. And next time, our language will be even better with teacher Gav and Em.
I hate to split hairs, but that does sound a bit like you're creating more activities out of the one activity. I think when I was talking before, I meant purely just do the same thing over and over. Don't reflect. Don't do the mini lessons, the mini grammar. Literally just keep doing that one thing. I think what you're describing is a full rounded lesson.
Well, you told me that you might not be able to drag out that particular task to the full length of the lesson. Therefore, I'm just giving you some extra tips on what you can do when you get to the end.
Create more. Yeah, okay. Nice.
You'll find that it keeps growing, those legs, if you know where to find them.
Before you know it, you've got a millipede.
Or a centipede.
I'll take that, yeah. I'll take an ant at this point. 6 legs is fine. Spider, great.
So those were the cardinal rules.
I hope that was clear, everyone. I think so.
Em and the followers, You'll know what's coming, don't you?
I do. I know what time it is, Gav.
It's time for
Quiz of the Week.
And I have written, with the help of a very well-known AI, our fastest ever quiz of the week.
Well, the last one was 60 seconds, wasn't it? Oh, no, that was an activity. Sorry. Is it going to be less than 60 seconds?
Only you can tell us that, Em.
Okay.
And possibly the followers. Followers, if you can beat Em now, you are going to have to pull up your socks, tighten your braces, sit upright in your chairs or wherever you might be, and focus. What I'm going to do, Em, is to read you the beginning of some very common collocation phrases in English, and I want you to complete them for me. I have 35 of these, and I bet you can complete them within less than a minute.
Less than a minute. Okay, that is a challenge.
It is, isn't it?
I don't think you can say that many things in less than a minute.
Should we start the clock?
I'm ready, I hope.
It's go time. Let me just check how...
I thought you said it was go time.
What is the task, Em? Just quickly tell me before I start.
You're going to tell me a collocation, or the first part of a collocation, and I need to finish that collocation, and I need to do it without breathing, thinking, blinking, just fast as I can.
That's it. Bread,
Butter
salt,
and pepper.
or
What?
salt and
Vinegar
cat,
and dog.
and
Mouse
safe,
and sound
night,
and day.
wine,
And cheese
sun,
and moon
spick,
and span
black,
and white
hand.
and
We walk down the road, hand in
hand
home,
and office. No, home and
with you each day,
home and away
heart,
and soul
back,
and fourth.
pick,
Pick
or this one,
pick and choose.
cool
Cool
as a,
cucumber.
hustle and,
Bustle
rock and,
roll
hit,
and miss
on,
and off
rain,
or shine.
odds,
Odds or evens.
no,
I've been doing this forever.
odds and
ends.
odds and ends, blood,
And water.
no,
Blood and tears.
no, it's a horror movie,
Blood and guts.
fit and,
Fit and
you can run up the stairs with no problem, very fit and,
healthy.
trial and,
Trial and error.
thunder,
And lightning.
black,
And white.
I fell down the stairs again,
Black and blue.
kiss,
Kith. I love this. Kith and kin.
high,
And low.
life,
And death.
peace,
Peace and quiet.
ups,
Ups and downs.
trial,
And error.
trial and trip,
Tribulations.
short,
And sweet.
which this is not,
You said it would be.
give,
And take.
rich,
And poor.
rich and, this person is rich and everybody knows them because they're super
Famous.
rich and famous,
Rich and famous.
sick,
Sick and tired.
very, very good.
Oh my-
Hand claps.
Oof.
Oh my goodness, indeed. Well done, Em. I believe you are a superstar on these common collocation phrases.
I think I have to go back to the beginning and actually think about what I said.
Em, you might have to listen to this episode to just find out exactly what happened over this last couple of
It was
minutes.
just a blur. I don't know where those words came from, but they were in there somewhere. Oof, that was challenging.
That was nice. I like that. That was lots of fun. I'll have to add up your score and I'll let you know next episode just how many points you got.
At least 1,000.
1,000 per answer.
Oh, if you like. But it felt like there was a lot of language there. So I hope everybody got all that. Let us know if you have any questions.
I might pick and choose a couple out of there to go
Nice.
back through. Maybe you can explain what kith and kin are, or
Blood and guts.
yeah,
Yeah. So that's it, Gav. That's all for today.
over.
And out. Nice.